The Banu are a race in the Star Citizen universe that are renowned for their trading prowess, ability to incorporate technologies to their ships from varying races, and love for parties and sporting events. They are essentially the equivalent of Ferengi in the Star Citizen universe, in my opinion. Today, I'll be touring a build I did inspired by the Banu race. I built this ship in another space title called Empyreon. We will get to all of that, but I want you to know one more important detail first. The Banu have a main ship that is essentially a mobile gas station or bazaar. Please keep that in mind when you see the interior of today's build, and any concept art shown. We've got a lot to talk about, and we'll get started right now. So why did I build the Banu Merchantman, or a ship based on it rather? Well, because I love running trade markets, and crafting and selling gear in MMOs, and generally running small-scale industry operations. I've done this in games like World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, Fallout 76, Diablo, and survival games like Ark, Space Engineers, or Empyreon. So I am definitely a base builder, industrialist, min-maxer of sorts. And to continue why this ship was built, at the time, I was in the middle of a long base building phase. I have always loved spaceships in sci-fi universes, and am very familiar with the lore of both. I have been asked by previous viewers of the channel to try and find a new way to show how I build. Remember those keywords, because it is one of the key components of why I am showing you an older design from a game I haven't ever introduced on the channel. To be specific, this ship is a blueprint that you can actually download if you have Empyreon Galactic Survival, dating back to 2018. The link will be in the description. Before we dive into the meat of the tour, I just want the previous viewers that are watching to know that I figured this would be a great way to show my industrial builder's perspective or style. Let's start getting more specific on what you have been seeing, since really the tour started as soon as you started the video today. The real BMM is a trading vessel. This one is no exception. It has medical facilities, apartments, a lounge, a meeting room, dedicated cargo for ships and goods, pretty much everything the original has. Obviously, my design is larger than the other ship, but don't get the impression the real thing is small by any means. In fact, it is comfortable enough for the Banu race that they often keep their merchantman vessels within the soli, or the human equivalent of a family. You see, if this is your first time hearing about the Banu race, the Banu have a knack for passing these ships down from generation to generation. It is very difficult for an outsider to get one from a lore perspective. We will see how it plays out in the actual SC MMO. Taking a look at one of the original images that I used to lay out this ship in Empyreon when building it, I had a loose idea of how I wanted to lay this ship out. The fact that the Banu tend to incorporate the best parts from wherever they find them into their vessels really helped me get into the frame of mind for how each area of my ship would look, and what could apply to my playthrough on this game at the time specifically. The exterior of the ship has multiple entrances. The most obvious one is that the landing strip or hover tank garage over there. When looking at the concept art for designing this build, I decided to take the landing ramp concept to the next level and lean into what I could do with it, and that's how I tackled the lack of rotors or pistons in this game. There are other entrances on the wings, but they will make more sense as we progress throughout the ship today. Continuing the tour of the exterior, you can also see that the landing gear of this vessel has some smaller, accessible stations on the ground for easy safety when exploring the landing zone on a planet. Moving on to the hover pad and exterior landing strip, there is an elevator inside that allows you to enter the ship. Of course, you can always fly your vessel inside the double hangar doors. On the rear of the ship, there is another hangar, but that is for VIP transport and escape pods, not public use. The Banu Merchantman is a ship that has been modified time and time again. This ship in Empyreon is no exception. As we enter the fried merchantman interior, you can instantly tell that I lived here while I built it. I started this ship with a frame, built this base area, and lived out of the apartment buildings as I gathered resources to construct this monster. It took an incredible amount of time, but let me show you around. This is the shopping center area. with complete apartments you can rent out or use them as stores. This ship is large enough to sustain an entire Empyrean server, and there is plenty of safe parking across the way. Let's take a look at the main interior landing strip, and while we do that, the Banu merchantman that you see today is a perfect example of the current BMM lore. The BMM that you will eventually be able to fly in the game Star Citizen is adapted for human use. It's not traditionally compatible for our race. I feel that this adds to the story of this concept, or blueprint. By the way, you can download this concept for free on the Steam Workshop and pull it apart for yourself. I've had members of the community express a desire to learn how I build, and this is a perfect opportunity to dissect something that I lost myself to my creativity in, one of the few relics of builds that has managed to survive over the years. If you don't have Empyrean, there are plenty of screenshots located in the link description too. The Banu aesthetic is organic, or druidic, because we have traces in the lore that literally suggest the Banu grow the hull of their ship in some way or fashion. This is fascinating that they can grow something so modular, adaptable, and long-lasting. When we look at the internal schematics of the real thing, we see that there is a large cargo hold that is true to the vicinity of the one in today's ship. I'll show you around back there before we go upstairs to the pub. Here is the dedicated cargo hold designed to be compatible with this game. This ship is specifically designed to be a completely functional station without ever moving or needing to move, but it can most certainly travel, of course. In this game, something like this is better off staying near where other players are working. So there is an area for trade, a pub or lounge, and then we get to the medical area. Something interesting about this is that when I built this ship in 2018, we had no confirmation that there would be medical functionality on the BMM, but it was assumed. The image of the interior that you are seeing today was recently updated. It's pretty cool to see how that worked out. Above the trading or apartment floor, we have a cafeteria on one side. In the tips or the ends of either wing of the ship, we have some secret areas as well. In one wing, I have taken the liberty of creating a black market corner. In the other wing, I took the opportunity to make a fully functioning prison or jail with its own landing pad on top of the wing it inhabits. Remember, you can see the ship for yourself if you have the game, or check out the screenshots on the site. I do have a VIP room for meetings that is tucked away somewhat, as with the traditional concept. This is for overseeing the trade floor and keeping an eye on who is getting near the fuel tanks, engine access, etc. I tried to make the ship designed for work and living, as evident in the VIP rooms, the pub, and even the bridge. The Banu race and culture are very hard-working and often sleep in a close proximity to where they work, which is why there are quarters for the bridge crew nearby. I don't have a Banu defender in Empyrean, but I have a few ships I usually park here. Empyrean isn't really a focus on this channel, and I'm only showing this Star Citizen related build to discuss the BMM today. This is a Star Citizen story from an older backer. Make sure to boop that like button and subscribe if you think I earned it. It really does let me know that you're really enjoying that I'm really about building, crafting, industry, trading, and MMO stuff. But I'm also a hopeless creative and I want to share it with you at heart. This ship is massive and there is still more to show you. This is fitting because the Banu can spend months negotiating deals. It truly is a hub or base of operations, although today's blueprint is much larger than the original and highly tailored to this title. I did take some liberties with this build due to its size, and we'll go ahead and start with the backup bridge. In Empyrean and Star Citizen alike, pressurization is important. During battle, windows tend to get smashed. For this reason, I made a secondary command bridge to pilot the ship from if necessary. The Banu tend to collect the best bits and bobs when they are out in the black and incorporate it into their own architecture. To the human eye, there is supposed to be an organic, open, but well-calculated feel of opulence. This is the best way I can describe the Banu architectural aesthetic, so that's why you see the angles, curves, and extreme architecture throughout this build today. I was completely lost in my creativity, and, in a way, I'm showing my neck to you by sharing this old of a build. The Banu like to display their trinkets and wealth, which is why you see certain textures in various areas around the ship. I designed this place to operate on function, true to style, and also took the liberty of installing one whopper of a growing room that can create a humongous food supply. It also doubles as a source of income for trading with the NPC factions. The fuel room is gigantic, and let's talk about the feasibility of building this in vanilla, Empyrean that is. It's got something like 50,000 blocks in it, and almost a 2-day in-game factory build timer. That is a lot of material to build this behemoth, toppling size class 50, so I recommend checking this out in creative mode. It took a long time to build this. Let's get to that for a moment. I'd like to know from you, how long do you think that I worked on this ship? Remember, the link to the blueprint is in the video description, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I'll answer it in a community post after this video has been out for a little while. The Banu Merchantman, or BMM, as a ship is about making money. You can do this by refueling and restocking other ships, selling exotic goods through your stalls, straight cargo runs, and more. Things like components and high-tier resources are a revenue stream also. Then there are the VIP meeting rooms, and as far as Star Citizen gameplay goes, I think that there will be some gameplay and in-game UI rather that allows you to charge for an entry in some type of way to the VIP room, or tax them. We already have the Mobi-Glass, which allows for the transfer of credits and merits. This ship is also fast for its size and well armed when on the move. It has been described in earlier literature to be essentially capable of blockade running. In Empyrean, this ship is heavily armed and will take several hours of resource harvesting to fill the ammo containers. Everything is easy to find though in the internal component menus for the most part. I also took the time to program proximity sensors so you can get auto ramps and door access. This reminds me, the game has obviously been updated since this blueprint was uploaded or published. You will want to turn off the CPU option when configuring your playthrough settings to be able to pilot this ship in its current state. If you love it, you could update it to be compatible. Many older Empyrean players still prefer the CPU point option to be disabled, and I count myself among them. Still, just wanted to disclose that bit. This brings me to a question I have gotten from the community who asked what logistics I'll have to consider for the BMM in Star Citizen. And it was also pointed out that this would be a hard ship to fly without personnel to take care of security while making a sale. This is a good point, and my answer to this goes something like this. That's kind of a difficult question to answer, because I have had this conversation before. We know hiring NPCs, AI blades, and more will be a thing, and we also know the BMM will have a separate crew area. Also, you can easily set the ship to cruising speed in the black, and you won't run into anything for hours. If I can build one in this game over a few months, I'll approach the BMM and other big ships I have the same way I do in other games. I'm not expecting to be able to fly a BMM solo and it be fully functional as well with a full crew. No, not at all. But we also simply don't know what mechanics will be available in each implementation. There is the answer to the BMM and large ship logistics in general. The Banu have a knack for being able to trade with just about everyone, including hostile races that won't trade with anyone else. The Banu know how to close a deal. This means that you can charge higher premiums in dangerous places. At the front of the ship, the real thing has twin size 8 guns, and the top turret has some remote point defense turrets around that are unmanned. This ship is designed to keep moving in combat. She isn't meant for broadsiding, kind of like the Mercury Star Runner. Due to the various offenses and point defense, the Banu Merchantman is a very strong ship with a range of consideration for protection and the ability to support multiple smaller ships over long distances. In Empyrean, I usually carry mining ships. The Banu are also a proud bunch and like to display their work and achievements. So when it comes to the texturing and painting of this ship, which took forever by the way, I tried to stick to some of the darker colors. Oranges, greens, as much as possible. This was eyeballed, and I freeformed this thing, and I'm not a 3D modeler or anything like that. The Banu also have Zen-style shrines usually, so I tried to make some Zen spots throughout the ship in areas that seemed natural. I believe the gods the Banu worship represent traveling and luck, if I'm not mistaken, but I had trouble finding the specific piece of literature to verify the names of the two gods. One thing to remember that I mentioned earlier is that the Banu often pass these ships down through their soli, or the humanoid equivalent of a family. It is not easy in lore for a human to attain this hull, and it is generally accepted speculation that this will translate to the in-game reputation system. In Star Citizen, almost every ship will be available to earn in-game. Many of them are now. The BMM will likely have a reputation requirement with the ship manufacturer, or a Banu Soli manufacturer, or something along those lines. So make sure you shower before going to purchase one of these babies. Something interesting to note with this ship that we touched on a bit earlier when we addressed logistics, there is a security section. Mine is in the wing. I'll show you that again. True to the original design, albeit loosely. Something else to note about this ship is that it is one of the largest ships in the SC universe that can land planet-side. This ship, in this game, can land on most planets, or used to be able to. Except for those 4 times plus gravity hostile planets, don't land there, you'll be stuck for a bit. Something neat I want to share is to compare the BMM build from like 2018 and a recent clip of the BMM landing gear. It's kind of interesting to see how I imagined a unique landing gear scenario long before this clip was shared. I thought that was cool. Moving on and getting to the ultimate point. Don't forget that this was an eyeballed, unique, and inspired build. It's not a complete replica. I'd like to take a moment to explain what it is that I was trying to accomplish with this video. I have been pushing myself to make content that is out of my comfort zone, to bring the audience as much authenticity, development, and quality that I can muster. I didn't want to just do another Banu Merchantman video. I've seen dozens of BMM videos, but I've never seen one quite like this. I wanted to share the Banu race with you, and why I believe they are a worthy, relatable addition to sci-fi races the likes of the Ferengi, a little bit of Vulcan, and maybe some Vogon, all the greats. Further, I wanted to share my critical analysis and thoughts of the different aspects that the BMM will cover while exploring and profiting out in the black. I figured the best way to do this is to show you that I've already mimicked and tried to create this experience before. And don't forget to leave a comment about how long you think it took me to build this behemoth back in the day. The design style of the Banu and my love for similar races and other sci-fi universes really appeals to me, and is such a beautiful culture and architectural flow with a bit of steampunk clockwork sprinkled in. That has a lot to do with why I titled the video the way I did, because I didn't know how else to describe it. I was so inspired by the BMM at the time that I built my fleet initially to support it. I got tired of waiting and thought it would be fun to build one in one of my favorite games at the time. Here I am years later seeing updates this year on this ship and just as excited about it as I have ever been. I am obviously not going to be correct on exactly how the BMM is going to turn out. Time will tell, and today's experience is for inspirational and educational purposes only. With that said, a lot of research went into the lore and details not just in the build, but in today's video as well. This is a good time to slide into what is coming up next from the channel. Basically, I'm going to be doing a Judge Dredd inspired build in Satisfactory, so those of you who come to the channel for Satisfactory building tips, you'll get to see precisely how I build the next Mega Modular setup, so please stay tuned for that, because you guys tell me all the time you want more and more shown on how I design things. If you learned something today or enjoyed the content, you know what to do. If you play Star Citizen or would like to try it for free, the game will be free to fly and play from May 20th through May 31st. The corresponding event is called Invictus 2952, a military-themed event both in-game and on the RSI website. These events can get busy, but it is critical to test the game during this time, and also a great opportunity to make friends. Link in the description below. Stay fresh, play how you want, how you can, and stay you. Share this video with friends, and see you in the verse.